I found my wife secretly siphoning $250, $0 from our joint account to her business she never planned to start. Then I discovered she rented a new mansion, forged my signature on property deeds, and now she's suing me for half the estate I didn't even know we owned. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy to get blindsided like this, but here I am. Just a few weeks ago, I was living what I thought was a normal life, married to Emily, building a future, working my ass off, and trying to stay sane amidst the chaos of everyday life. We had our issues, sure, but I never suspected anything truly sinister. That is, until I stumbled upon the most unbelievable, jaw-dropping secret that's turned my world upside down. It all started with a routine check of our joint bank account. I had been noticing some strange withdrawals lately, small amounts here and there, nothing too alarming at first. But then I saw a huge transfer that made my stomach drop. It was $250, $0, gone, just like that. I immediately knew something was off. I mean, who siphons that much money without a clear reason? I pulled up the details and saw it was labeled as a business investment under Emily's name. I've always known she was ambitious, but she never talked about needing that kind of cash, especially not secretly. I knew Emily was not the most honest person when it came to money. She'd lie about small things all the time, like where she was or who she was talking to. But this was different. This was outright theft. I couldn't believe it. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and confusion swirling inside me. I needed to know what was going on, so I decided to dig deeper. Over the next few days, I kept tabs on her. It wasn't hard because she was acting strangely, more secretive, more defensive. She'd stay late at her office, which I later found out was just a cover. I started noticing her phone was always locked, and she'd hide her texts. I managed to sneak a peek one night when she was asleep. That's when I saw the texts, flirty, suggestive messages with some guy named Jake. She was clearly cheating on me, and it was worse than I imagined. The affair wasn't just emotional, it looked physical. Her messages were explicit, full of plans to meet up, and she kept calling him her secret lover. What hit me even harder was the way she lied about everything. When I confronted her about the phone, she spun some bullshit excuse about how she was just talking to a client, how it was nothing, just business stuff. But I knew better. I could see the guilt in her eyes. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. All those years of trust shattered in an instant. The betrayal didn't stop there. As I kept digging, I found out Emily had rented a mansion, completely in my name, I later learned, without telling me. She forged my signature on property deeds, claiming she was investing in our future or some crap. Meanwhile, she was out there sneaking around, lying and spending money like a drunken sailor. I found out she was suing me for half of the estate that I didn't even know we owned. She had a whole separate life, and I was just a pawn in her game. The worst part, she kept insisting she was doing all of this for us, that she was saving our future, that I was just too blind to see her sacrifices. But it was all a lie. She was cheating, stealing, and lying all at once. I felt like I'd been living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I couldn't believe I married someone like her, someone who could do this behind my back, who could betray me so completely over money, sex, and her own greed. I knew I had to confront her, but I was scared of what she'd say. I was hurt, furious, and feeling totally lost. I didn't sleep that night, just kept replaying everything I'd uncovered. The woman I thought I knew was gone. All that was left was this cold, calculating stranger who had been hiding her true self all along. I had no idea how I was going to fix this, or if I could at all. But one thing was clear: my life was never going to be the same after this. The day I confronted Emily was like walking into a storm I couldn't predict. I had all this anger boiling inside, but I knew I couldn't just blow up without a plan. I needed her to admit everything, to see her squirm, to know that I wasn't going to be played anymore. So I waited until she got home from her office, which I now knew was just her hiding spot for her latest lies. When she walked through the door, I was already waiting in the living room, my arms crossed, eyes fixed on her. She looked surprised, maybe even a little nervous. That was the first sign that I was onto something big. I didn't waste time. I threw the damning evidence in her face. The bank statements, the forged signatures, the explicit texts with Jake, the fact that she had rented a mansion and was suing me for half the estate I didn't even know we owned. Her face went pale, then turned into a mask of anger and denial. "No, that's not true," she snapped, trying to brush it off. "You're overreacting. You're just jealous, or maybe you're paranoid. I've been working hard, working hard." I cut her off. "You've been stealing from us, Emily. You siphoned $250, $0 from our account, and you're out there cheating on me. Don't lie. I saw the messages. I know about Jake. I know about the mansion. How could you do this? How could you lie and lie and lie?" She started crying, but not because she was sorry. It was that bitchy, manipulative crying that she used when she was trying to guilt-trip me. "You don't understand. I was trying to protect us. I was doing all of this for our future. You're just too blind to see it. You don't know what I've sacrificed." I felt my blood boil. How could she even say that? Sacrifice. She was out there sleeping around, stealing money, forging my signature, and I was supposed to believe she did it all for us. That's when I saw her sneaking her phone out of her pocket, trying to hide it. That's when I knew she was still hiding something. I snatched it from her hand and saw the recent messages with Jake, more explicit than I'd imagined, talking about meeting up, about finishing what they started, and how she was done with me. That was the moment I snapped. I told her I was done being played, that I was filing for divorce, and that I was going to take back what was mine. The look on her face was priceless: shock, anger, and a hint of panic. She tried to deny everything, but I had all the proof. I told her I knew about the forged deeds, the mansion, the money she stole, and her affair. I made it clear I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. That night I couldn't sleep. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. I'd given her everything: my time, my trust, my money, and she'd thrown it all away for some cheap thrill and greed. I kept thinking about the future I'd lost, the years I'd wasted trusting a woman who was just using me. I'd always believed in honesty, in loyalty, in building something real. But she had shattered that in an instant. I started planning my next move. I knew I couldn't just walk away without fighting for what was rightfully mine. She stolen a lot, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I had to protect myself, my assets, my dignity. I was furious enough to destroy everything she built, but I also knew I needed to be smart about it. This wasn't just about anger, it was about justice. As the days went on, I gathered more evidence. I contacted a lawyer, someone who specialized in financial crimes and property disputes. I wanted her to know I wasn't going down without a fight. Meanwhile, Emily kept up her lies, trying to spin her version of events, claiming she was saving us and that I was just jealous or paranoid. That woman had a way of twisting everything to make herself the victim. Honestly, I felt like I was living in a nightmare. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs. How did I let her get so far? Why did I trust her? But deep down, I knew I had to accept the reality. She was no longer the woman I married. She was someone else entirely. Someone who lied, cheated, stole, and betrayed everything we once shared. Now, I'm just trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll never trust her again. I've lost so much: money, faith, my sense of stability. But maybe in some twisted way, this is a wake-up call, a lesson I won't forget. I'll fight for what's mine and make sure she doesn't get away with ruining my life. After the confrontation, everything changed so fast I could barely keep up. I hired a lawyer, a sharp guy named Mark who specializes in financial fraud and property disputes. We started digging into everything: bank accounts, property deeds, legal documents, anything that could prove Emily's lies and theft. I had to be meticulous because I knew she was slippery, a master at covering her tracks. Meanwhile, Emily kept up her act, trying to act innocent, telling everyone I was just paranoid, that she was doing this for us, and that I was overreacting. That bitch really thought she could spin her way out of this mess. I wasn't buying it. I knew her game. She was used to lying her way through everything, and I'd been naive enough to believe in her. But not anymore. I started to see her for what she really was: a manipulative, selfish woman who would do anything to get what she wanted. I was going to be her puppet anymore. The more I uncovered, the more it became clear how deep her deception went. She had forged my signature on property deeds, including a mansion she rented in my name. I found out she'd been living there for months, sneaking around, pretending everything was normal. She even had the audacity to file a lawsuit claiming I was entitled to half the estate, an estate I didn't even know existed until I started digging. She'd been planning this, orchestrating everything behind my back. It hit me hard. She'd been planning her escape for a while. The mansion, the money, the affair with Jake, all part of her grand scheme to leave me with nothing, and I was furious. I felt betrayed on every level, like I'd been played for a fool. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it earlier. How did I miss all the signs? The late nights, the secret calls, the strange expenses on the credit card. She was good at hiding her tracks, but I was getting better. One night I decided to confront her again. I sat her down and laid everything out, the evidence, the forged signatures, the texts. Her face twisted into a mask of rage and defiance. She denied everything, of course, claiming I was jealous, that I was making it all up, that she was working late or dealing with a client. But I had her dead to rights. I told her I was going to take her to court, that I'd fight her for every penny and every piece of property she'd stolen. She yelled at me, calling me paranoid, controlling, and jealous. She even had the nerve to accuse me of cheating, trying to turn the tables. I just looked at her and said, "You're the one cheating on me, on our marriage, on our future, and I'm not going to let you get away with it." That's when she stormed out, crying and screaming that I was ruining everything, that I was destined to lose. I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Relief because I finally had proof and I was starting to see her true colors, but emptiness because I realized I'd lost years of trust and love. I'd given her everything, my time, my money, my heart, and she'd thrown it all away. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how I'd been so blind, how I'd trusted her to be honest. And now I was trying to piece together my life again, knowing that she had been lying to me this whole time. The next step was clear. I was going to fight her in court, challenge her claims, and get back what was rightfully mine. I'd also start the process of separating, maybe even moving out if I had to. I couldn't stay under the same roof with someone so deceitful. I didn't want her to keep dragging me down with her lies and manipulations. Honestly, I've never felt so betrayed, so humiliated. It's like I've lost my identity, my sense of security. But I also know I can't let her keep doing this. I have to stand up for myself, for what's left of my dignity. I've learned that trust can be shattered in an instant, and sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll never let someone take me for a ride like this again. The legal process moved faster than I expected. Mark, my lawyer, was a beast, sharp, relentless, and clear about what needed to be done. We filed for a court injunction to freeze Emily's assets, especially the mansion she'd forged my signature on. I wasn't about to let her liquidate any more of our supposed joint property or drain the accounts further. Every day, I felt like I was walking a tightrope, part anger, part fear, part determination. I knew Emily was trying to spin her stories, claiming she was the victim, that I was the one cheating and controlling her. The more she lied, the more I realized how deep her deception went. She kept insisting that she'd been saving us, that she'd sacrificed so much, but I saw right through her. She was the one who'd spent thousands on designer clothes, luxury trips, things I never even knew about until I saw the credit card statements. The mansion was just the tip of the iceberg. She'd been living a double life, secretly siphoning money, lying about her whereabouts, and, of course, sneaking around with Jake. It all made me sick to my stomach. One morning, I discovered even more. I was going through some old emails and found a series of messages between Emily and a real estate agent. Turns out she'd been shopping for mansions in her own name, things I had no idea about, and she'd already signed a lease on a huge estate outside the city. She'd been planning her escape for months, making sure she had a backup plan if everything fell apart. That realization hit me like a punch to the gut. She wasn't just cheating and stealing. She was actively building her new life behind my back. I confronted her again, this time more coldly. I told her I had enough evidence to take her to court for fraud, theft, and breach of trust. I told her I was going to fight her for everything: her money, the mansion, the property she forged my signature on. She snapped, calling me paranoid, jealous, and controlling, just like she always did when she was cornered. But I didn't care. I had the proof now, and I was ready to make her pay for all the lies she'd told. She tried to manipulate me, saying I was ruining everything, that I was just jealous of her success, and that she'd always loved me. Yeah, right, that's when I realized she'd been lying to herself as much as she'd been lying to me. Her love was just a tool, a way to keep me from suspecting her real motives. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I wasn't going to let her destroy what little was left of our life together. I was done being her fool. The court hearing started a few weeks later. I sat in that courtroom feeling a mix of rage and exhaustion. Seeing her there, acting innocent, trying to pretend she hadn't done anything wrong, made me realize how much she'd betrayed me. She was spinning stories about how she was trying to save us, how she only wanted what was best, but I knew better. Her actions proved otherwise. She was a liar, a thief, and a user. Meanwhile, I kept my composure, presenting all the evidence I had gathered: the forged signatures, the emails, the bank statements, everything. Mark laid out the case clearly. Emily had defrauded me, stolen from us, and was trying to cheat her way out of justice. The judge listened carefully, and I could see the wheels turning. I knew I had a strong case. I also knew Emily's game was over. What was even more shocking was the way she reacted after the hearing. She tried to come at me with tears, claiming she was sorry, that she'd changed, that she still loved me. But her words rang hollow. I saw her for who she truly was: a manipulative woman willing to do anything to get what she wanted. I couldn't believe I'd fallen for her lies all those years. Now I'm just waiting for the final ruling. I've told Emily she's got no chance of getting away with this. I'm determined to get back what's mine and to put an end to her schemes. It's been a roller coaster: anger, frustration, heartbreak. But I'm finally starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. I've learned a lot about trust, betrayal, and the importance of watching your back. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever trust anyone that way again. The court's decision finally came through last week, and I can't even begin to describe the relief I felt. It was like a heavy weight had been lifted off my shoulders. The judge ruled in my favor on nearly all counts. She ordered Emily to return the stolen money, cancel the lease on the mansion, and forfeit her claim to the property she forged my signature on. The estate she was trying to sue me for. Turns out, she had no legal claim to it because she'd forged my signature and lied about her ownership. The judge also awarded me damages for emotional distress and legal fees, which was a small consolation but a step in the right direction. I spent the next few days sorting through everything, getting the mansion cleaned out, transferring ownership of the property I now officially claimed as mine, and starting the process of rebuilding. Honestly, it's been a whirlwind of emotions. I feel a strange mixture of anger, relief, and exhaustion. All the betrayal, all the lies. It's like I've been living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. But at least now, I can finally see the truth clearly. The aftermath is a mess, of course. Emily is furious, of course. She's screaming, throwing accusations, trying to manipulate her way back into my life. She's calling me a monster, a cheater, and claiming I'm ruining her future. But I see her for what she is: a woman who lied, stole, and betrayed everything we had. I don't feel guilt or remorse anymore. I feel a strange sense of closure, like I've finally taken back control. I've realized that trusting blindly is a dangerous game. Emily was a master at deception, hiding her true self behind a mask of charm and lies. I should have seen the warning signs: her secretive phone habits, her late nights, the sudden influx of money she couldn't justify. But I was blinded by love and hope. Now I know better. I won't let anyone manipulate me again. Moving forward, I've decided to divorce her. I want a clean break, a fresh start. I'm starting therapy to deal with the emotional scars, trust issues, betrayal. The whole ordeal has left me shaken. I've also begun the process of rebuilding my financial stability. I've cut ties with her completely, changed all my passwords, and made sure she can't hurt me anymore. I've learned that sometimes the biggest act of self-love is walking away from someone who only brings chaos and pain. Looking back, I realize I've learned some hard lessons about trust, greed, and the true nature of the people around you. Emily was never who I thought she was. She was just a clever con artist hiding behind a pretty face. It's painful to admit, but I'm grateful for the clarity now. I see things more clearly and I won't make the same mistakes again. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags. And if you find yourself in a situation where someone's lying, stealing, or cheating, fight for yourself. Legal action isn't easy, but sometimes it's the only way to get justice. You can't let people like Emily get away with screwing you over just because you want to believe in the best in them. Be strong, stay vigilant, and never forget that your worth isn't defined by someone else's lies. As for me, I'm finally starting to rebuild my life. The pain still lingers, but so does the hope. I'll come out of this stronger, wiser, and more cautious. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm done trusting blindly. And that's a lesson I'll carry with me forever. It's been a long road, and honestly, I never thought I'd end up here, standing in the wreckage of what I thought was a life built on love and trust. Now, looking back, I realize how much I overlooked, how many signs I ignored because I wanted to believe things were better than they really were. Emily's betrayal was a wake-up call I never saw coming, but it's also one that forced me to reevaluate everything I thought I knew about myself, about relationships, and about the importance of honesty. The hardest part was accepting that the woman I thought I married was nothing like the person she pretended to be. She was cunning, manipulative, and driven by greed and lust. She lied about her intentions, cheated on me with Jake, stole hundreds of thousands from our joint account, forged my signature on property deeds, and thought she could get away with everything. She tried to gaslight me, to make me doubt my own instincts, but I refused to be a pawn in her game any longer. What I've come to understand is that trust isn't given blindly, it's earned and it's fragile. Once broken, it's nearly impossible to fix. But that doesn't mean you have to stay broken. I realized I had to take control of my life, protect what was mine, and walk away from the chaos she created. I'm not perfect. I still carry scars and doubts, but I'm learning to rebuild piece by piece with a clearer sense of who I am and what I deserve. The biggest lesson I want to share is this: never stay in a situation where your trust is being systematically eroded. If something feels off, pay attention. Don't dismiss your gut feelings or make excuses for someone's behavior. And if you find yourself betrayed, don't be afraid to fight for justice. It's not easy and it's not quick, but standing up for yourself is the only way to truly reclaim your life. I also learned the importance of surrounding myself with honest, supportive people, friends, family, professionals, who can help you see the truth when everything seems clouded. You don't have to go through this alone. There's strength in admitting you need help, and there's power in taking action to protect yourself. As I move forward, I'm focusing on healing. I've started therapy, I've cut out toxic influences, and I'm slowly rebuilding my financial security. I know I'll never fully forget what happened, but I also know I won't let it define me. I'll use this experience as a reminder to stay vigilant, to trust carefully, and to value myself enough to walk away when someone is doing me harm. To anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, I want you to know you're not alone. It's okay to feel hurt, angry, betrayed. But it's also okay to stand up and say enough is enough. Your worth isn't tied to someone else's lies or greed. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect, no matter what anyone tries to tell you otherwise. In the end, I'm grateful I found out the truth before it was too late. It's a painful lesson, but a necessary one. I'll come out of this wiser, stronger, and more cautious. And I hope everyone else who's been betrayed finds the courage to face their truth, fight for what's right, and never settle for less than they deserve. Because life's too short to be living in someone else's lies.